Saudi, Turkey, and Pakistan Joint Defense Pact. Rasul Sardar is joining us live now from the Turkish capital, Ankara. So, Rasul, help us understand why Turkey wants to be part of this agreement in the first place, because a lot of people will look at this and think they're already members of NATO. Why do they need more protection?
Well, here now we know that Turkey has been dramatically changed since the rule of the President Erdogan starting in the early 2000s, and its interest in the region has grown quite significantly since then. And also, despite being a member of the NATO, it is facing tremendous security challenges in the region, whether that is through Iraq or Syria, or the close relationship now between Israel and Greece and the challenges that are arising in the East Mediterranean. And also, most recently, Israelis' actions in Lebanon, its war on Gaza and the war on Iran. So Iran's response in the region, so the international waterways, whether it is through the Red Sea or the Strait of Hormuz, are now being significantly threatened. So all of them are forcing Turkey also to further enhance its relations with the regional countries, particularly in terms of the security. And the understanding in Ankara is that once there are the security alliances, particularly between these three major countries, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan, is not only going to help the region to respond to the regional crisis collectively, or just to build a regional collective deterrent mechanism, but the officials here believe that this security alliance is going to have the positive impact on the various aspects of the life. And Ankara believes that this is going to boost its economy, it's going to boost its diplomatic relations with the region, and also it is going to enable Turkey further cementing its footprints across the region. So all of that regions combine. So we see that this is a security alliance, but also Turkey is creating a new counterbalance for the challenges that it is facing in the Strait of Hormuz, across the Red Sea, in the East Mediterranean, and also, of course, the security challenges that are rising through the Black Sea, through Iraq, through Syria. So it is not only about region. I think officials here, or based on my conversation with some of them today, they believe that this is a significant pivotal point for the region, but also its effects are going to be felt beyond the region.
All right, Al Jazeera's Rasul Sardar joining us live from Ankara. Rasul, thank you. Well, all of this follows a series of defense initiatives to strengthen regional security cooperation. Last month, Saudi Arabia announced a 14-nation coalition to protect shipping in the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandab Strait. Kuwait has signed a 5-year defense cooperation agreement with Pakistan. It strengthens military ties through training and joint drills. Last year, Riyadh and Islamabad signed a defense agreement deepening their long-standing security partnership. All right, here with me in studio is Abdullah Bender El-Taibi. He is assistant professor in international affairs at Qatar University. Professor, thank you for being here. This is so interesting, this security pact, because each of the Saudis, the Turks, the Pakistanis, they each have their sort of regional foes. The Indians with the Pakistanis, obviously the Saudis are in it with the Houthis in Yemen, and of course, kind of recently, the Israelis have been describing Turkey as the new Iran. So who do you think that this pact is trying to send a message to, or do you think it's trying to send a message at all?
I think the timing is quite important, Scott. If you look at it, it's during the US-Iranian negotiations at the moment. So if things go wrong, because we're still at the negotiating table, so we never know what's going to happen. Also, as you said, there are so many adversaries to these countries. They want to change. This is, I think, a pivotal and a big shift in the region. Something I don't think the U.S. would dislike, because they would love to have more of U.S.-supported alliances in the world. And this is part of the defensive arrangements and defensive steps that the U.S. is actually pushing for is to have more the NATO to actually to work on themselves and just depend on themselves, and also the Middle East and other countries. So this is something they like. But the thing is, when it comes to looking at this security pact, you're going to see it as 3 countries, yes, but this is built on other trilateral and bilateral agreements. Like the Pakistanis and the Turkish, they have extensive security agreements in the region. We talk about the Turkey with Qatar, we talk about Pakistan with Kuwait. So there are a lot of them. So does that mean we are actually building a new alliance, but in piece by piece, to avoid miscalculations? Because this is what the Saudi statement says a lot. Because when it comes with security pacts, always comes miscalculations. Iranians will think with the timing is actually targeting them, especially it comes from Mecca.
Yeah.
Where it's talk about symbolic thing. And the Israelis will think about it as, oh, this is what Netanyahu talked about just a week before the war.
They'll look at this as a
He
threat.
said there is an extremist Sunni, he said it, is alliance is shifting or shaping up. So this is now he's going to point at, well, this is what I said, what I talked about. So these are things very important. So it's very clear at the beginning to avoid miscalculations by saying this is actually for cooperation, and more of sharing strategic assets, because every country and each country of them, they have something particularly important. Like we talk about money and comes from Saudi. We talk about military equipments coming from the Turkey, and also we talk about the nuclear issue. The nuclear power comes from Pakistan. So they come together.
How do you think that the rest of the Gulf countries are going to be viewing this deal? I mean, are they going to be eyeing it with thinking we should be joining that at some point?
Well, I think we are at the beginning. This is now at the political stage of just announcing it. It's not on the ground yet. So I think all GCC countries will look at it as it's a good thing, a good step that's bringing the region together. Maybe like some of the countries, they are wants more stability and more and less of involvement in the internal affairs of other countries, because this is what basically Iran and Israel is doing or has been doing for the past years. So this could be a good sign, but I think they are waiting to see it. But I think they are like indirectly in with the trilateral and bilateral agreements they already signed with other members. And maybe we're going to see more of them on the way coming.
The Americans for a long time have wanted to establish normal relations between the Israelis and the Saudis, to add the Saudis to the Abraham Accords. Of course, the Saudis have continued to say that we're not going to do that until there's a Palestinian state. Do you think that this security pact, though, given how we know the Israelis feel about Turkey in particular, do you think that this moves the Saudis even further away from normalization with the Israelis?
I think to some extent, yes, because it comes with the Israeli calculations of their security. They believe that Iran is a threat, but recently they've been talking about Turkey as a threat. And this comes with Turkey being one of the leading producer and manufacturer of military equipments. And this is something will be in the region. We're going to see it in the next few years. Countries will rely on Turkey more. And this is something I don't think the Israeli wants to have it, because this means they don't have that advantage when it comes to military equipment compared to other regional countries. And therefore, they don't like what they're seeing at the moment. But I think they will have to wait, and they will start maybe lobbying in the US against such a behavior by regional countries, that taking the initiatives to try to organize the region in a way, because there has been a mess and chaos in the region for the past few years. And this is, I think, a step for some of the countries. They believing it's the time for bringing the region together in a way. And maybe this could remind us of the Britain rule before the First World War, when they worked as a balancer in the region, in the world, where they tried to avoid having wars and try to be a balancer in the system where no one is dominating. So maybe this is a way of not giving a chance to Iran to dominate with its proxies, and also to Israelis not to dominate the region.
Yeah, it's such a fascinating development with so many potential implications. Abdullah Bender Ella Taibi, we appreciate you being here to help us make sense of it all.
Thank you.
All right, let's get the view from Israel now. Alan Pincus is a former Israeli diplomat. He says it would be a mistake for the government to consider this pact an anti-Israeli alliance.
All 3 countries are Sunnis, even though they're not targeting Iran as the other side of this pact, or against which this pact is directed. Israel should construe this as a regional, outer regional defense pact. The second important thing is that all 3 are at least ostensibly considered U.S. allies. I don't know what that means anymore, but ostensibly all three are allies. Pakistan for sure, Saudi Arabia for sure, and NATO for sure. And Turkey for sure by virtue of being a member of NATO. We haven't seen the entire agreement, obviously, but that clause that resembles Article 5 of NATO, the collective security, that an attack on one of those three countries would be considered an attack on all three, is very ambiguous and is very dangerous potentially, because what if Iran attacks Saudi Arabia? Is Turkey and Pakistan then obliged to attack Iran? Of course not. What if Pakistan contends that India attacked it? Is Turkey obliged to then attack India? Obviously not. So this is very strange. When the Saudis make it clear, and I think they will in the next few weeks, that this does not preclude, or this is not mutually exclusive is a better definition, that this is not mutually exclusive, of defense or non-aggression pacts with Iran. That's when the entire architecture, the entire security architecture of the region changes, and that's when Israel is going to whine that this is anti-Israeli.